What's up, my beautiful black geniuses? How is everybody today? Welcome to the Black Wealth Project. This is our weekly town hall meeting where we focus on nothing but black, for us, by us black geniuses here on the panel, our black financial geniuses here on the panel. As you see, I don't know if you can see the faces here, but there's some smoke going on in the green room. And we're gonna bring it to y'all. We're gonna bring it to y'all. If y'all see some of these, I don't know what to call them, these liners, this David Ruffin in the room full of Otises. We got some beef, we got some smoke, but listen, we're gonna have a good time tonight, as always. Our main topic tonight is the major killers of black wealth. So what are the major killers of black wealth? So we're going to explore that topic and talk all about it. But as we always do, I want to talk to my Black Wealth super team. How are y'all today?
Man,
but I can do better.
Good. You mean the Black Shade Project? Like it's crazy in the green room today,
Big old shade.
Yeah, man, it's the Black Shade Project.
All right, so real quick, what's up to everybody that's in the audience? Make sure you check in. Tell us where you're checking in from, where you're hailing from, and tell us what you think. What are some of the major black wealth killers out here? But all right, Courtney, why are you not good? We see the face. What's going on?
So let's talk about this. So everybody has their name. We all had this conversation, and then here comes. First of all, Malik is late, so let's talk about that. First, somebody late to the party, and then he rolls up talk about some David Ruffin in a room full of Otises. So let's give you context. So anybody seeing the Temptations, everybody knew that he was saying, that David Ruffin came in and he was like, "Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis." So the context is that he is David Ruffin and we're Otis. People are coming to see us, Malik. Contrary to what you're saying.
I'll say
what he believes.
I don't mind being Otis. Otis was the clue. So he can be David Ruffin and he can die of an overdose like David Ruffin did here in Philly.
Otis got a check like 40, 50 years. Otis was like, Otis like, it was there till a couple years ago.
Otis was getting that bag for a long time.
All right, Malik. So you got to tell us before anybody else chimes in. What's up with this David Ruffin Otis beef, man? What's up with that?
Hey,
that's a lyric from somebody, but I can't think who it is off the top.
Nah, so you know what? I just put it out there, like, you know what? I'm late, so I might as well,
Is that what you thought?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you why I didn't say anything, because Malik's timeline has been a war zone this past week, so I just let him ride, dog. I mean, he come on here all loose lip with the the name and all that. You know what I'm saying? If you know, like his timeline has been crazy, and all he's been doing is asking questions. Like you can't ask questions, dog. And in this climate right now, dog,
you can't ask any questions. Just you can't ask questions. I try. I put it out there. I'm stupid. I'm divisive now.
All right, hold on, y'all. Give us the context. What was the questions you asked?
Which one?
They were
Pick the one that had the most. I missed it.
Well, I'll give you two quick ones because it's been going all week. I'm gonna give you from my perspective as a viewer of all the carnage. The first thing he said is he put up a statement. He said gentrification is what happens when white folks need affordable housing. And there was a young man on there who took offense to that and said, "What do you mean, like white people? Like, you're getting real loose lip with your talk." This is a white guy. It's a white guy talking like this.
Yeah,
so that just was somewhere else. Today he just asked a question. He said, "Listen, I'm just asking a question. Can someone tell me what the Democrats have done for black folks since 1965? Like, can you just educate me?" Is all he was asking. Man.
No, and listen, the thing is, you can't be like, how can black folk be mad at other black folk if they don't support or vote for the Democratic Party? Now, and I said, okay, name 5 things the Democrats have done for black people since 1968. Just name 5 things. If you can do it, cool. If you can't do it, cool. But if you can't do it, then you can't be upset. You can't be upset with other black people for not supporting the Democrats. The Democrats do a terrible job of getting across their message of what they have done for black people, for anybody. They do a terrible job. They do a terrible job working together. They do a terrible job of marketing. They're just not good at that. So I asked the question. People were just going crazy. You stupid. I'm like, listen, millions of people don't vote. Tell us if you want to jump on my page and carry the Democratic flag. Cool. Tell me and tell everybody else that's not going to vote. I am going to vote, by the way, but tell people that's not going to vote why they should vote for Democrat. And
But to me, it was just the way, like he said the first comment you put in there, like, this is not an endorsement of Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. I just want to have a dialogue. Like, and they weren't trying to have a dialogue. The first thing is, you stupid. I'm like, damn.
And I think there's a time and place for everything. I really do. And I think that based on, like, here's the thing. We are, to a certain extent, all influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, is that we have, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So sometimes the conversations that we might want to have, it may not be the time to have it. And and the thing is that we were talking about this idea about voting generally for the last couple of weeks in some way, shape, or form. And to ask the question of, like, what has the Democrats done in the last 5 years, it kind of opens up Pandora's box in the sense of, well, people, then the next thing people are saying, well, I don't know what they are. And Malik had a very valid point, is that there's not marketing that's done about what they've done and what hasn't done. Like, so it's a lot of confusion. So that's kind of like, well, you know what? I can't name 5, so I'm not going to vote for them. And that's what the logical conclusion of this kind of rhetoric during this time actually leads to. And again, this is not an endorsement of the Democratic Party. You know, do I think they could have done things significantly better? Absolutely. But then you have on the other side what the alternative is. And I can tell you that just merely the mismanagement of COVID-19 and how it's specifically impacted Black people, I think we have some real problems here. So sometimes it's not even just what has the Democrats done. It's like, what has this other party done against us? And if anybody can really put things in perspective, I can tell you about the war on drugs that was passed in the war on drugs that came from the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. We've been digging ourselves out of a hole since then.
Real quick, before you go in,
No. Hold on, Jimmy. Courtney, can you please tell the people who issued that act what party it was, please?
It was Richard Nixon, who was a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So
in effect, hold on, Courtney. In effect, the Republicans started the war on Black people. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to hear that.
No, but all I was saying is, you see the way that you eloquently just said that to Malik. You didn't say, "Yo, you stupid." Yo, you crazy. That's why I'm here. Like, yo, he was catching bombs on that. Like, you still have a dialogue. Like, you still like, listen, these are the reasons why this isn't good at this time. Yada yada yada. And even if he agrees or disagrees with you, you didn't come on there just like hurling insults the way they did.
Facts.
The thing is, they spent more keystrokes saying you stupid. Why this is wrong? Just tell me the 5 things.
Yo, they let their hands go. That's why I said I'm gonna let them slide. I'm gonna let them slide because they was cooking them, yo.
They went all the way.
I mean, a lot of the questions were shock value questions, and they evoked stark reactions in people who may not have eloquent.
And that's why he's David Ruffin.
And that right there was beautiful. I'm gonna tell you why. That was the most eloquent way to call somebody a troll I've ever seen.
All right, hold that thought, y'all. Hold that thought. Listen, everybody, you're watching the Black Wealth Project. Do us a favor. We're a little off schedule this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, right? Do us a favor. Share this out with anybody who's interested in raising the stakes of Black wealth, or raising the IQ of Black wealth throughout our community. We're going to get to our regularly scheduled channel, but this is kind of juicy. This is kind of spicy. So let's rock with this for a little while longer. So go ahead, Jimmy.
No, listen.
No, I was just saying that was a very eloquent way to call Malik a troll. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna say this, man. It's like right now, I looked at my timeline, and there were a lot of people that said, I agree. And these people that I know are non-voters. Like, there's somebody that on my page that Tracy knows, I think he was probably in her grade. He never votes. And he says the same thing, right? This was an opportunity to engage the people that don't vote. Like, if you're going to carry the Democratic banner, tell us why we should vote. Don't. And by them attacking me, then the non-voters, they definitely like, see, that's why I don't say nothing. I'm going to just sit back and not vote.
All right, so hold on. Let's check in real quick, because let's rock with this for another 3 minutes, but let's check in real quick. Adrian, how you doing?
Hey, Adrian.
Hi.
I don't know how to say your name, and I don't want to mess it up. Anybody know how to say this name? Help me out. Fiali,
maybe.
Yeah. Well, hello from Maine. Thank you.
Fiali Witt.
But shout out to Maine, though.
All right. I think
Shout out to Maine.
he said, I think the mortgage companies are one of the black wealth killers, but most importantly, it's our mentality. Ooh, come with bars.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome.
You.
NC in the house. Done.
Wait a minute. I'll say that. Hey, Wanda, how you doing?
Hi.
Come on.
You see, God, they be going there.
You know what kind of smoke he brings, Kahan.
Adrian was like, "What's his page?"
I'm just Facebook. I'm just Malik Carter. That's it. Just my name, Malik Carter. Facebook.
I just shared it, Adrian. I just shared the post, but it's real estate coach Malik Carter. What's up, Dwight? Dems are afraid of alienating liberal white people, so their messaging is lukewarm. Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think they're afraid of alienating
all day. You got it.
But I also
NC
think they ain't got it in them. What's good people? My man Marvin, how you doing, brother?
NC.
Yes, Courtney Preachy Honey. Okay, Courtney got fans. She said she got people.
You're gonna say it right. Say Hunty. You gonna say it?
Hunty. Okay,
Oh,
Hunty.
Elizabeth Paris.
So what was the House and Senate composition at that time? It was Democratic. It was Democratic.
That's a good question.
It is a great question. It was Democratic at the time. However, Nixon's advisors were very clear in 1990 when they were kind of out of the smoke and kind of all the smoke is clear. They said, listen, we couldn't make it illegal to be black, make it illegal to be black or be against the war. And at the time it was the Vietnam War, which is extremely unpopular. He said, but what we can do is we can make these things that we consider part of the black and hippie culture. We can make them criminalize them and then disrupt their communities. That came from Nixon's advisors. So yeah, I hear you, but that was his agenda that he pushed through. So here we are. And again, I mean, and so to Kamari's point, yeah, it was Republican Party. Like they really, they got down. Now, granted, to your point, Democrats were in on it because they had to vote for it. It was a Democratic majority on the House and the Senate. But again, that was his agenda.
Well, I want to say this real quick, right? So as Elizabeth Conley pointed out, that Democrats were also in power in the state, in the House, in the Senate, right? Nixon was the president. He was a Republican. I'm a student of Malcolm X. Everybody should go read Ballad of the Bullet. All right. That is the black political Bible. So that tells you something. If the Republican was at the top of the ticket, you had Democrats in the House and Senate. No party is good. All right. So I think the reason why Courtney brought it up, because we never talk about it, is we live in this fantasy world where we think one party is better than the other. They're both trash, folks. Both of them.
Both.
Me and Kamari agree on something. How about that?
No. All right, so just to give everybody context, right? We definitely agree on that, Jimmy. I think we've always agreed on it, right? But here's my thing about politics. I feel black people should be the most involved people in politics. Why? Because we've been the most oppressed. Okay, right. There's 40 million black folks in this country. We are not mass migrating anywhere. We're not going back to Africa. I don't have a problem with Africa. I just want to put that out there, right? You see, I have on an African shirt. I identify as an African or African descendant or African origin, but we're not moving if we're looking at it from a real pragmatic standpoint. So to me, it behooves us to fight on every possible level, tooth and nail as much as possible, because we're here. And so we have to be thinking about protecting our people here as well. So when folks be like, I ain't voting, I'm like, all right, well, you're not thinking about protecting your community. And that's where I come with it from, because you're not taking the time to educate yourself. Listen, to me, it's all hands on deck. There is no wiggle room for saying, oh, the system's bad because it was created by somebody else. Yeah, no shit. But guess what? We're here now. We're dealing with the system. Are we just going to let them keep kicking our ass, or are we going to figure out ways to fight back? That's where I'm at with it, Jimmy. That's all.
And I think it's about the partisan.
Yeah, no, I've never disagreed with you though. Go ahead, Courtney.
I think it's about the partisan lines. I mean, when it comes to, so here's the biggest thing. And then footnote 4 of Caroline Products, which I believe was an early 20th century case, and they specifically said that it's the judiciary has to protect a discrete and insular minority because the political process does not do so. So when we're looking at who is at the helm and appointing Supreme Court justices, appointing federal judges that all have lifetime appointments because they're all Article 3 judges, it really says that the only place that we actually get the redress that we need is actually in the courts. And when you actually have somebody who is consistently against Black people in the Black agenda, they're going to appoint people who are in line with them. So now we have somebody like Amy Coney Barrett that's probably going to get confirmed. And now we're going to have a conservative. I have other words for conservative, but we'll leave it off the show for today. But now we're going to have a conservative majority, which is basically going to undo all the protections that we had because they've already been doing it. We lost the enforcement clause of the Voting Rights Act. And that's why we're having voting problems right now.
Yep. And so, I'll just say this and close on that because I didn't want to go too deep with that because I know it's very divisive. But
I just want to respond to you, Kamari.
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to respond to what you said. I never disagree with what you said in terms of having a fight on all fronts. Actually, I agree with that as well. But I still think that we should be honest and have honest conversations and should be able to have conversations is my only thing. I understand Courtney's point too. Because there's so many levels that we're being harmed on, right? I just finished this amazing book, pardon my language, it's called Rat Fucked, but that's the name of the book, and it's about how the lines are drawn and how the Democrats basically dropped the ball. So for the last election, the Republicans were planning that for years and years, and how the Democrats have dropped the ball in terms of redistricting, and how because of that, it's going to affect us for years and years to come. And actually, the book's a couple years old, but you're actually seeing what's described in the book. Point in saying that is there's a whole other angle that we have to be fighting on. We have to fight on so many fronts. And I've never disagreed with voting. I mean, I disagree with the vote shaming that goes on, because I honestly believe, and I don't want to get into a deep conversation that not voting is a vote, right? But I understand that this is different than most elections in terms of what we're up against. So that also has to be taken into consideration what we're actually up against in this election versus other elections. So I think that has to be looked at. But we have a lot of fronts to fight on, and I do think that economics is still number one, in my opinion, at least.
I was so
100%.
This is what I wanted to say about voting, right? So it's not just voting, folks, right? Voting is kind of the proverbial, I don't know, mind trick that's been played on us. It's not just voting now. We can't just vote people in and just leave them alone. That's not how it works. It's like, what do you think happens when you leave children that are young in a house unattended? They fuck shit up. Excuse my language, right? Politicians are the same way. Elected officials are the same way. So we have to keep them in check monetarily, through the vote, through various other means, right? But it's not just the vote. And it really frustrates me that we talk vote. We never talk about financing our candidates though. And I've been a treasurer for several elected officials, and that's like one of the most major powers right there. And lastly, to Jimmy's point, I think politics and economics are almost one and the same. One is the heart, the other is the lung. You can't really function without the other. When you look at wealth creation in this country, in almost every other country, right? The majority of the wealth creation was created through government programs. Okay. And so since Black folks were not there, and we couldn't really be there, by the way, but since they are not there, we were kind of taken out of that space. Look at the GI Bill, look at redlining, you look at many of the other major legislation. We were left out of that. So
you can go as far as to say all wealth creation is created through the government because they make the laws and regulations.
Right.
So all wealth creation.
But to that point though, well, that's why your point you just made before that was more important about holding them accountable, because I've seen jurisdictions, and I'm not going to name any or name any politicians that were completely ran by us and no wealth was created for us. They still created wealth for other people. So no, I agree with that. That goes to holding people accountable. So it has to be deeper than just getting us in places of representation. You can be in a place of representation, but if you're not representing us, then
facts. I mean, I would. Oh, go ahead.
But I think that's the problem across the board when it comes to us at all. It's like we always talk about getting in the room, like in terms of even when we talk about getting into college, we're like, oh, we all want to get into the room. We want to be, this college is diverse, but are they able to actually retain their diverse populations? So it's real. We really talk about the first part of the equation, and we don't talk about the second, which is equally, if not more important. So you have recruitment, getting our politicians in the room, but also retention and basically making sure that they're doing what they need to do to stay accountable to us, but then also making sure that they're fundraising and we're actually sending money to them, because the way that they go up in their ranks and their agenda is heard is that they actually are able to raise money. So I think we have to really understand how the system works and then work it in our advantage, as opposed to sitting out. I don't like it, so I'm going to sit this out. I'm going to put my hands in my pockets, but you're still getting, as Jimmy said, rat effed, in the process when we decide not to participate. It's a participatory system. It's representative democracy. So you have to make sure that your representative is actually representing you. Like that's your job. Just going to the polls is not enough.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Yeah, and real quick, Kamari, can I just end this with a quote? The legendary Cecil B. Moore once said that every time I help a black man get a great job, all I do is create another white man. Speech in which he was pissed about us getting in certain rooms and then start looking out for self. So rest in peace to Cecil B. Moore.
Shout out to Cecil B. Moore.
And
he was a real one. Go ahead, Malik.
So before we move on to the next segment, I do want to say this. Kamari, I do want to give you a shout out for running the show. I do appreciate you managing this. Doing it on Wednesdays is a task. I didn't realize how difficult it was to maintain. So I do want to salute you for your efforts, sir. Keep the show going.
No, but you know what you do.
I want to salute you too. Since we're giving you credit right now, we slander you a lot. I do want to salute you for that too, because I watched your show on Saturday, and I don't know how you do that by yourself. Like you got, I guess with your history in radio, but you was sitting there by yourself for a little over an hour, just like having a conversation with the folks. So. You definitely got a talent there, brother. So, now we're giving you your credit. We're going to give you flowers right now so we can get back to slandering you.
Yeah. We're going to give you your flowers. We're going to bury it in that slanderous soil.
What I tell you, it's either Corey coming back me first and Jimmy coming behind him, or Jimmy coming and then Corey coming. Right. But now listen.
It's the Road Warriors, dog.
Yeah. I appreciate the flowers. I'm a man who likes flowers, so I'm cool with that. I will say this, though. I think all of us can do it. It might take a little bit of practice. Listen, every show that I do, I don't feel great about afterwards. I didn't feel great about Saturday show. I'm also a perfectionist as well, though, just to kind of put that out there. I talked to my buddy who watched. He said, I watched your whole show the whole time. He's like, this is the first time I've ever watched the whole show. I said, "Oh man, thanks."
I got in the car, put you on a cell phone, and watched it while I was in the car. I was like, because I honestly, my wife can vouch for this. She was sitting there. I was like, "How does he do this by himself?" You like Callan Cowherd, like he's doing this by himself. I'm like, I can't. I told her, I said, I can't do this by myself. I don't know how he does this.
Yes, well, like I said, I think all of y'all could do it. All of y'all are very well learned. All of y'all have a deep understanding of history. We are very much alike with our different idiosyncrasies, but I think very much we are all basically on the same mind wavelength. So I think we all could do it if we wanted to. But again, thank you y'all. But with that said, this show is totally out of control, right?
It is. All the way off the grid.
Listen, the main topic tonight is what are the black wealth killers, right? What are the biggest killers of black wealth? So do us a favor, chime in the comments. I know we got a couple more comments we got to get through just to acknowledge folks. I just want to acknowledge everybody: Monica, Shamice, Elizabeth, David, Lynette, Elizabeth, Adrian. I'm just reading them off. That Comedy, Hargrove. Oh man, y'all got some bars in there, so we definitely want to circle back and come back to those. But y'all got some stuff, so I appreciate y'all being here. Do us a favor. Remember, this is the Black Wealth Project. We are here every Saturday at 7 p.m. Do us a favor. Share this out. We want to start. We want to start having. What did I say?
It was the comedian Hargrove. I'm sorry, D.
Oh, so listen. We want to have deep, substantive conversations with the community, because I feel a lot of the conversations we're having with black and white, like Malik put out there, it's actually a great question. If you don't know, you should be willing to ask. You should be willing to have that dialogue, right? Especially for our non-voters, many of us, because that means we are all not on the same page. So hopefully we could have some dialogue, interact. and get on the same page with some of us, right? Be more helpful, be more community, promote unity in our community. So moving right along to the next segment. Next segment is BOB of the week, Black Business of the Week. Y'all know we love Black businesses. It's one of the core functions of creating wealth. And so Courtney has that today. Who you got for us today, Courtney?
Yes, I have Jenny Nicole. She is she's a fashionista. She's out of Charlotte. Absolutely love her stuff. I have on her, I guess it's a matching set. It's like a loungy around set. So I have this top on. I don't have the pants on, but really love her stuff. And interesting enough, this set was actually sold out. And I kind of got on her list for this particular set. I got a notification that it was back. I immediately was like, click. And it said oh, this will be shipped in a couple of days. And I didn't really expect it to be shipped soon. And then next thing I know, next couple of days, I was like, oh, look, it's in the mail. So as Tracy and I were talking about before, it's just really great customer service. Love her outfits, really cute. And I think more her idea is creating cute fashion affordably. I think a lot of people think, oh, for me to be cute, I got to spend a lot of money. And that's not necessarily the case. Really cute. She's out of Charlotte. So I feel like all the fun stuff happens in Charlotte, or at least North Carolina. That's my family's from. So shout out to North Carolina. But she just has a lot of different stuff. So love her stuff. And I think, Kamari, if you could just share her link so people can just hit her up. Because I think it's about that time that we should be looking about Christmas gifts for our significant others.
Christmas time.
I like how you said for our significant others, and none of the men can wear this stuff. So
no, that's not true. This is 2020, Kamari.
You're right, Corey. You are so right. I don't want none of that smoke right now. I'm not even going down that path with you. You're right.
That is not true. Don't say no crazy shit like that. No,
you're right, because you're about to get me something. I don't know if it's Me Too or whatever. Yeah, I don't want no problems. Sorry, y'all. All right, so listen, moving right along, y'all. As y'all see, we love to have fun too, right? So we Black financial nerds who actually like to have fun. So today's main topic is, what are the major killers of Black wealth? So Corey, let's hit you up first, brother, since you bringing the jokes today. What you got on this?
Major killers of Black wealth. All right. I'm gonna try to be as kind and gentle with this as I can, because I have a lot of bars on this, because there's a lot of things that drain Black wealth in our community. But I'm just going to say religious institutions in general, kind and gentle as I can. Every other community is based around banks and businesses, and our community is based around a institution that has a negative ROI. So I'm just going to say that, as far as our community being built around religious institutions. So that's a major wealth killer. The other major, our status as not being together is a major wealth killer. We always want progress, and we always want reform. And those two words to me are major wealth killers, because you got to get shit fixed to get money. You got to solve problems, and reform is not solving anything. And that's not anything that doesn't solve the problem is not a good business proposition. And so that's another reason why that's a wealth killer. So I'm being very general. I can say some very, very specific things, but I'm trying to keep it general so that most people can understand where I'm coming from. Another wealth killer, and this is my last one, is our lack of love for one another. Something that me and Jim talk about. We don't trust one another, and so we don't scale things big because we don't trust one another. So all of our businesses are, ruggedly run, like rugged individual businesses, great individually, but we don't combine and we don't scale because we don't trust each other. So those are my three major wealth killers.
Okay. So Tracy, I'm coming to you next because you've been quiet today.
I've just been letting y'all live, because I know when y'all get going, I got nothing. So I took some time to really, really think about this, because this is pretty important to me when it comes to building Black millionaires and building Black wealth. And I came up with a couple points. One of them is, my first point is financial illiteracy. Most of us are illiterate financially. We do not understand the basic principles of financial literacy. That's number one. Number two, a lot of our culture does not believe in emergency funds. We need to have money to make sure if there are problems, because there's always a problem per Mercury's law, that we have an emergency fund and we're not borrowing triple digit number credit cards to handle an emergency fund and putting ourselves in debt 10, 20 years for something that we could have just saved a little money and tucked it away and handled it. Next point, insurance, health insurance and life insurance. You have to protect your body. You have to protect your center, because if you're not okay, you can't do the things to build your wealth for your family to make sure that they're okay. And in your death, you have to protect your family and protect all the assets that you created in life. The next thing is having debt that is not leveraged. It is not good debt if it's not leveraged in some capacity to be able to generate more income or at a minimum be able to pay that debt off.
Tracy, break that down for folks when you say debt that's leveraged, because most people think debt is leverage. So break that down for everybody.
So debt that's leveraged is basically debt that you're using as capital to generate more income. For instance, some people may believe that mortgages are debt that is leveraged. In a case where you're buying a property that is income producing and the debt that you owe monthly payment is less than the income on the property, it's leveraged because you can actually use the income from the property to pay off your debt. And one day, in theory, in discipline, you can pay it off to zero and own the property free and clear. So it needs to be leveraged in order to make sure that you can lean into another situation to create another scenario to help build wealth.
So your home residence, you wouldn't consider that leverage debt?
Not in a traditional sense. You have to pay for where you live in most cases, and your mortgage is also allowing you to pay for where you live in a space that you feel comfortable with. But if it's not generating income in any fashion, it's technically not really leveraged in the way I'm talking about.
Gotcha. All right, Malik, what you got for us, sir?
All right, I want to thank everybody for that. Now, for those that don't know,
the David Ruffin.
The David Ruffin segment. I'm sorry. Go ahead, though.
All right. So for those that don't know, I spent before I came out entrepreneurship, I spent 6 years working for the Housing Authority as a property manager, right? And so it's one thing to live in poverty. It's a whole other thing to have an intimate relationship with the 500 people that I'm managing and understand most of what they're going through on a personal basis as a property manager that actually cared and got to know. One of the biggest things that harm Black wealth, at least at that level, is really poverty in itself, right? It's very expensive to be poor, right? So the people that couldn't afford to pay the rent, we had a nominal late fee, but it was difficult, right? When the kids had to go on the trip, when people that couldn't afford quality food, I'm at Blumberger's going now, at least at Hot Rosses, and then so it's a food desert. So then you have to pay either Fresh Grocer or to pay cousins to deliver your food. And then you have to pay them to help bring it up to your place because you can't leave it downstairs, right? So there's all these other things that go into just getting groceries to the house, right? You can't really get on the bus. So you either call in a hack, or because Uber wasn't big then. So you either call in a hack or you're taking a bus or a taxi. So just getting food to your house was a task, so these very small things keep you in poverty. When before I didn't have any money, if I get a ticket, I couldn't pay it. then I get another ticket and get a live stop. Then I got to find money to get my car out of the impound. Like these small things, these are the ways that like poverty in itself is definitely one of the biggest factors to Black wealth. One of the other things is really violence. You know, violence, when you think of how much wealth is taken out of the Black community from murders, not even murders, just getting shot, like the cost of medical bills from someone being shot. Or if you get locked up, the cost of attorney if you can afford one. If not, then you're not providing income for your household while you're away. The cost of the phone calls. If someone loves you enough and has enough money to put some money on your books, you know, while you're away. And like these other petty crimes to keep you in prison, these longer terms, like these are difficult. Plus the cost of funerals, like, 10, 15 racks. I told my family, just throw me in the woods. I don't even need a funeral. Let the maggots eat me. I don't spend no money on my funeral. Just chuck me overboard on a boat somewhere. I'll be just fine. I'm already dead. I won't feel it. Right.
Yeah,
so
I don't care.
Right. These are some of the things. And I got a lot more, but I think this one is very important. This is the last one that I'm gonna say today. And it's really self-esteem. I think self-esteem is a huge hindrance when it comes to Black wealth. And the fact that if, when you tie your belongings to your self-esteem, like you can't go outside without the latest expensive items on, or even knockoff purses are expensive. They paying like $80, $100 for knockoff Louis bag, $200 like a Louis bag, so even knockoffs are expensive. And so for all these things and, $200 for hair and like all these items, if you really don't have it, these things are tough. You know what? I apologize. I said that's my last one, but one word just came to my mind I want to say. A lot of times people feel like it's like survivor's remorse, or like in a way, even at that poverty level, if somebody wants to borrow $80 or $200, and if somebody in their savings may only have $1,500, $2,000, and they feel like they got it, and so they loan that money out, they may not ever get it back, and they do that because they feel like if they're in a jam, this may be a person, or they know how it feels to be in that jam. But in reality, even though you got 2, 3, 4, 5,000, you really don't have it to lend, and people don't differentiate having it, like having it in the physical form and having it in the safety form of having, like Chrissy said, a safety net. So those are my 4 things that contribute to make it difficult to attain Black wealth.
Okay, Jimmy, what you got for us?
I'll be very brief. The biggest killer of Black wealth, and Corey kind of stole a little bit of my thunder, is one word to me, and it's love. And I know I'm like a broken record because I get on this show all the time and talk about love in terms of us loving each other. But to me, that's the biggest hindrance of Black wealth. A lot of the other problems stem from that. A lot of the problems with crime, a lot of the problems with Black business. We don't love each other. We don't see value in each other the way that we should. And it's not everyone, but there's enough of us where this becomes problematic. Our best and brightest, can't wait to get away from us because they believe that proximity to us kind of lessens them in some way. So all of these problems stem from us, and could be a little bit of self-esteem, like Malik said, but also it just boils down to we don't love each other enough. We have a lot of talent. We have a lot of talent in so many different places, and we don't work together as a community. We don't have communities. We have neighborhoods, but we don't have communities. There is no Black community. And that's the thing. So there's a lot of these buzzwords in terms of like, you could talk about Black culture or community or we're not organized, right? So we're just not organized in any way. And a lot of it stems from us not loving each other, right? We're taught as a kid that a symbol of success to achieve and get out of here, get away from your own people. That's kind of what a lot. If you guys want to admit that, and people watching, so taught was like that's. Yes, sir.
Jimmy. Yeah, you broke up for a minute. Can you?
I apologize.
No, it's not your fault. We on the internet. Can you give us that piece again? You fell off a little bit.
What I was saying is a lot of us are taught since we were kids. If you want to admit that, that we're taught to get away from each other, right? So we're taught that success means get away from your own people. you don't succeed until you go out, you get a job or start a business, and you get folks, and you get your proximity to whiteness. That's define success. A lot of us are taught, whether we want to admit it or not, and that's problematic. That kind of hinders Black wealth in the long run, because we need to work together. We have to have some sort of organization. We don't, like I was saying, we don't have any community, but it all stems back to love. So to me, it's a one-word answer. It's love. If we work on loving each other, that will solve a lot of our problems.
Okay, Courtney, what you got for us?
Okay, I think everybody really hit a lot of the things that that concern me. Tracy hit financial literacy or lack thereof, or financial illiteracy. Like, that really is a huge wealth killer, because someone said in the comments, like, you don't even know what it looks like. You don't even know how to work with it, because you don't know what it looks like. So that's a problem. Consumerism, Malik hit that, and I think Malik really hit the nail on the head when he said it's about self-esteem. It's about Marvin in the comments also said, he says self-love and love for one another. And that's what Jimmy and Corey preach. It's about love. And ourselves kind of stand in our own truth and just be who we are, without the bags, without the fancy things, without the fancy, whatever accessories we need or we think we need. It really gets us in a bad spot, because you end up buying stuff you really don't need to impress people you don't like. All right. But I think the three that were really important to me was first, lack of understanding and engaging in estate planning. Tracy kind of hit it up when she was talking about life insurance. You're going to die. That's it. And dying is not free. The end. So that being said, is you have to have some money so you don't put your family in more of a rut as they're trying to basically bury you while they're dealing with their grief. And on top of that, like, just to kind of talk about estate planning generally, is that we found out this week that Chadwick Boseman died without a will. And I think one of my things that I was really annoyed about is that I've noticed a lot of people don't understand estate planning. So a lot of people are like, now one of the things that I've noticed, that his estate came in a little bit under $1 million. So it was maybe, I think, 980,000, something around that. Okay. That being said, is that he actually has a lot of trust, that they disclose that he does have a lot of trust, and those trusts are never included as part of your estate. So the thing is that there's two things that need to happen. You have a will who says who gets what, and a trust does what are you supposed to do with it. So they work together. So he had trust, but the thing is that with the trust, you have to have the property conveyed, or whatever it is has to be conveyed to the trust directly. And if it's not there, it's kind of hanging out for fun. Now, what that means is that your will basically kind of acts as like the little crumb tray. Like the crumb tray when you have toast and a bagel, the crumbs come out the bottom, and you kind of take it out and you dump that. That's what your will is. You kind of catch all the crumbs. So if there's anything that wasn't conveyed to the trust, your will's going to catch it and basically push it over to the trust. And I know everybody feels some type of way about Michael Jackson. I particularly don't, but his estate plan was probably one of the best that I've seen. He had I think it was either revocable or irrevocable trust. I can't remember the language that he had, but he also had a will, and his will said, my kids go to my mom, and anything that I ever had in life is given, devised, whatever, to my trust. The end. It was 3 pages. It took care of everything. And same thing happened with Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle had a lot of trust. He had a lot of life insurance. But the thing is, he didn't have that crumb grabber, which is your will that kind of directs everything. So the thing is, you got to have both of them. They work together. And if you have to opt between one of the two, you get a will. The will kind of really handles a lot of stuff, but a lot of people don't understand that. So I get really frustrated. And I also didn't like the language around, like, well, he died without a will. He kind of looked kind of jokerish in a sense. And it's like, well, no, a lot of people feel like a trust kind of handles all the things, and it doesn't. But again, I think the way it came across is like, oh, he's just one of them black people again that dies without a will, and he don't got no sense. And it really, really hit me personally. I was like, yo, that's not really what happened. It's kind of like having the sandwich when you have jelly but not the peanut butter. So like, it's not quite right, and the peanut butter really sticks to your ribs, so that makes you not hungry anymore. It like gives you that protein, and that's what you're missing. You're missing your will. You have your jelly sandwich, but you don't have that peanut butter that acts as the binder, and that's really the long and short of it. But the criminal justice system, or criminal injustice system, that's a real huge drain on black wealth. We already hit on that. And then the lack of political education and involvement really kills our wealth, because we already hit it earlier, is that a lot of the economic policies are actually crafted by laws. We talk about the tax code all the time. The tax code will incentivize certain types of work and disincentivize other types of work. And more specifically, it disincentivizes, earned income, like you working, exchanging dollars for hours, but it gives all the benefits to investment income. So that should tell you like what you should be doing. But that was created by the tax code, which is essentially a law. So those are my little thoughts.
Man, so everybody watching, what's your favorite one that you heard from the panel today? I was going to come with something, but I don't know what I can come with because y'all done took them all. But that's what happens when you hang out with smart people. The one thing I guess I would add, I think it's kind of an overlap, is many times we don't embrace who we are, where we come from, and our overall connection to divinity. So I in my opinion, I think a lot of times we play low, and I guess that's a lack of love or a lack of self-esteem, which Corey and Jimmy and so many other panelists have already said. But I'll say it. We come directly from God, y'all. And I don't think many of us realize that. I don't think many of us let that light shine. Mos Def has one of my favorite songs. It's Umi. Umi says, shine your light on the world. Shine your light for thee to see, everybody to see, all thee to see. We all have light inside of us that many times we are afraid to let be seen. And again, that's self-esteem, that's love, that's so many other things. And I think we replace that love with trying to emulate being the dominant culture. And that's just a nice way of saying it. I'll say it plain. A lot of us, our ideas, our mindset is European. Many of us unconsciously want to be European. So we have to go back and really rethink some of the things that we've been taught, being Columbus Day or quote unquote Indigenous Day was just passed. And so it's like these people are promoting a kidnapper, a rapist, and a murderer. That's American society. At some point, I mean, it's cool now, right? But many of our ancestors, our fighters, were already on that wave, and everybody wasn't. So now it's time for us to really go back, get on that wave, and see what other nonsense have we been taught, have we programmed and unprogram ourselves, and put some positive things in place of it.
Unlearn. We gotta unlearn.
Right. So along with that, I'm gonna be honest with you. I left one off because it was already a little controversial today, and I didn't want to add to it. But I'm like, you know what? I might as well just go. I'm already David Ruffin. I might as well just go ahead.
Give it to us.
Put out there. I think one of the biggest hindrances to Black wealth are parents, man. It's like not like
yeah, come on. That's a lot.
What I really learned from working at Bloomberg is a lot of time and public housing in general, a lot of time our parents are these kids' worst enemies, man. And it's like, they put so much negativity into a lot of them. And even when they tell them stuff out of love, it'd be the wrong stuff. They tell them the reasons why they can't do stuff, why things won't work, rather than pouring positivity into them. I was at Bloomberg. I saw a young lady get accepted to Harvard out of Bloomberg. Do you know how difficult it is to even perform well in that environment where I'm only there for 5 years? I gotta pick up brain when I gotta see brain matter. I gotta, see all these dead bodies. I gotta be there for suicides, and I'm only there 9 to 5. And they live there 24/7. But to be able to pick yourself out of the environment, to not only be accepted, but just the thought that you could apply to Harvard, the audacity that she had to even apply to Harvard. Now, she ended up going to FAMU, which I love. I love that she went to FAM versus Harvard. I think it was more of a money thing rather than a school thing, because I think she got the scholarship to this there, but actually being there was expensive, and they couldn't afford to be at Harvard. And so that's why they went to FAM. FAM provided more financial aid than Harvard, provided. But but just going through that, like, what if her mom told her that she could never get into Harvard? And like a lot of people tell you that you can and can't be. And so I'm gonna leave it at that. But a lot of the time, man, their parents are just, and they took out of love, just out of love. Go to school, get a job, do this. I'm like, yo, mom, you don't realize people are billionaires off of phones right now.
So let me jump on that real quick, Malik, because you and Jimmy said everybody actually said some really profound things, right? But when you look at the Black condition, it's very nuanced. So Jimmy mentioned about we're being told to leave our communities. All right. But then you have the other side of the coin where people are living in projects and public housing, where they're seeing murder, death, rape, and all kinds of things, right?
All of that.
Obviously, the idea is to keep us close, but when people are traumatized, they're going to do some different things, and I think we have to have a level of compassion and empathy for folks, overall, not just for this conversation, but just overall, because everybody has it different, everybody has it rough. But I agree with you, right? I think a lot of us need parental mentorship, and Pop and Nana used to do that because we used to live intergenerational. But there was still a level of, I can't. I'm not a god. I'm not divine. I'm limited. I'm a nigger, right? And y'all know I don't like that word because to me it's a word of white supremacy. But I feel like when they implanted that word and so many other things, they told us that we were less than, we were animals. And many of us sadly have not been able to escape that. So, I'll say the last thing. My mentor said something to me that I just now kind of comprehended. He said people can only operate up until their overall capacity. Some people don't have the capacity at the time to do great things, but they're just doing the best that they can do at that time. But somebody else had something I didn't see or hear who it was.
I
was ready to say something right there. Once again, like, I'm gonna just be open. I'm gonna go personal from a personal experience, right? And I think most of us can probably relate to this I'm about to say. So when I first came back from college, I was looking for a summer job, and I couldn't find anything, and I went down to Cutco. Everybody got a
Oh, no, that was the knives.
right?
Shout out to Cutco.
Cutco is the first traveling.
Right. And
All right, so explain to everybody what Cutco is.
So a Cutco is pretty much a knife company. You sell knives through the door. They were like a network marketing type of deal of knives, and then it was all new to me. And, it was a sales position. And it's my first jobs. I had a job when I was younger as far as a lifeguard. My first real job as a college person. I didn't really understand what it was. And I was so excited when I got that job. I came home and I told my mom, like, "Hey, my mom, I got a job at Cutco." And my mom was like, "Ain't nobody buying no fucking knives." I'm like, "God damn." So like my whole shit was deflated. And so imagine and that comment right there, I didn't like how I felt in that moment, how that made me feel, that I never let it happen again. And what I tell people all the time is, if my mom can't say shit to me, then you definitely can't say a goddamn thing to me, because now her opinion about me doesn't matter anymore, because I took that how I felt at that moment. But what if you told that all the time, like growing up, like that'll really like hurt your self-esteem. But I need to be a strong person to be like, man, I was hoping my mom said. It takes a whole different level of conviction. But that's just my personal experience, and it goes, on from there.
Gotcha. Somebody else had something for this.
No,
I was gonna say Cutco had amazing knives. That's all I was gonna say.
They're good.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I remember Cutco from the 90s, but I mean, generational trauma, PTSD, all that stuff is very, very real in our communities. It can be passed down with just toxic ideologies and ways of thinking. And that to me is probably one of the biggest things that is so unfortunate about our communities, is that we're still carrying these through generations, through people who have not been educated, who don't love themselves, who are not passing down love to their children, teaching love to their children, teaching growth to their children, celebrating growth in their children. And, I feel that there's so many opportunities that are out here that even if you don't have them in your life or in your family circle, seek them out. Seek them out. Seek your village out. Seek your talented 10th out. seek these places out where you can go and literally expand your mind, expand your experiences and resources, even if you can't get it at home. But until we continue to celebrate that, we're not going to be able to counteract all of the toxic ideologies from slavery that have pretty much been passed down into our bloodline.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jim. No, I was gonna say, I was gonna say that I put something on my timeline about a week and a half ago and it said basically I've become so good at surviving that sometimes I don't seek out places to thrive. Right. And so,
say that again, Corey. Say that again, please.
I've become so good at surviving that I sometimes don't seek out places to thrive. Right, because I can survive almost anywhere. Right, you can put me anywhere in the world and I'll survive anywhere. But my thing is, when you get so good at surviving, it's hard to seek out places to thrive because sometimes you don't see things as a problem because I'm like, I can deal with that. That's nothing. Like I can do that. I can deal with that. And so we gotta break that mold. You know what I mean? Like we gotta actively seek places to thrive. Right. And so we gotta look at our lives and say, look, you know what I mean? Can I deal with this? Yes, but do I have to? Do I need to? You know what I mean? Like, what is the best opportunity? What is the best space for me to thrive in? Right. And so that allowed me to make a move and do a lot of different things because, again, you know, because of my experiences in the hood, then I went from the hood, then I went to the army. And then, you know, but after the army, you know, I did a lot of traveling and couch surfing. I did everything from living in mansions to living on people's couches. Like I've done it all. So I can survive literally almost anywhere in the world. And then, but then do I thrive in those places? And the answer to that was almost always no. And then I started to seek out thriving places and people that helped me thrive. And then my life took a whole different vector. And so you gotta look at what's going on and say, am I surviving, or is this going to put me in a place where I can thrive? And so that's the question that I now ask myself in any situation that I'm in. Is it because I can survive, or is it going to help me thrive?
Got you. Jimmy, what did you have?
No, I didn't have anything. I was just telling Malik that you know, that's dope to share that story. A lot of us can relate to that. Cutco had amazing knives, and imagine people like, you know, tell their parents, I want to be a writer. I've seen people like, you know, say, ain't no money in that. You better get you one of them good jobs, right? Right. And parents are dream killers. So I just thought that was an excellent point for Malik to bring that up, because parents are definitely dream killers, which is, you know, but again, they don't know any better. A lot of them don't know any better because the same thing happened to them, right? We're all stuck in this survival thing. So, you know.
Right. It's funny. So after this, I want to go to Courtney real quick, but I just want to say this real quick. So when I was listening to Corey, I thought of the famous Jay-Z line, right? Put me anywhere on this earth, I'll triple my worth. And so I do believe, Corey, you put him anywhere on his worth, he's going to triple his worth. However, could he make that worth 10 times or 20 times, right? So he didn't necessarily have a place to thrive, but he still was able to go through it and survive and do well. But that all comes to mindset. But, you know, as we go forward, we got to think about creating our own safe spaces so we can thrive. And like Tracy said, seek out your tribe. So, Courtney, what you got?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that have concerned me about the conversation. So first and foremost, let me just give a shout out to my parents. My parents, honest to goodness, they have been amazing. My parents, I mean, I've just been blessed with like a really good combination. My mom is the dreamer, and she says, I'm like, Mommy, I want to go to the moon. She's like, we're going to the moon. My dad's like, I'm like, Daddy, want to go to the moon. He's like, all right, well, let's figure out how we're going to the moon.
I know that's right.
And honest to goodness, that has helped and shaped me, because at the end of the day, I feel like I can do anything. I can run through a wall, you know, and that does show the power that a parent has. And I really wish that we understood that more. Now, I also say that I think we have two things about trauma. So there was a study that talked about the Holocaust and how Holocaust survivors had trauma embedded in their DNA. So, and there's also a very similar study that's a little less, has a little bit less meat to it, saying the same thing of those descendants of slaves. They had slaves. We have trauma embedded in our DNA.
Correct.
And because of that, and I think we've seen the physical manifestation of that when we look at diabetes, when we look at hypertension, we look at all these stress-induced diseases. They occur more in our communities. I don't think it's just a function of where we are and how we're living our lives, but it's a function of what's in our DNA because of what we endured during slavery. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that there's also a conversation that I think we're missing a lot, is that unresolved mental health issues is a killer of Black wealth.
Woo.
And we don't really get the support. We'll say, I think Kelly was talking about it in the comments, and she was saying, hey, I've seen so many people get, run up by addictions. And that's real. But addictions, a lot of addictions, and not all of them, are a function of self-medication for a mental health issue.
Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about that because I thought Kelly's point was bars all day long. And we don't, mental health is just now getting prominence. But everybody, all of us growing, right, and all of us over 30, all of us had the quote unquote, what we used to say, the crazy dude or the crazy lady that would roam the neighborhood. We all kind of identified them as that. We didn't realize that they were sick, though. Sadly. We didn't realize that. And again, it's no blame on anybody, but it's just going to show that a lot of us, they were the extreme, but even folks in our family, I'm sure many of us have people that were addicted. I know I had addiction in my family, whether it be alcohol or drugs or other self-defeating or self-destructive activities, right? What were you saying, Tracy?
I said depression, all of that.
Yeah. But even addiction to cigarettes, that's like, how much cigarettes now? Like cigarettes, that's like $13 a day, something like that for a pack.
Yeah. It's expensive.
That's crazy.
Very expensive.
Some people
not to mention the lung damage you're doing to yourself, right? So you're killing yourself and your pocket and your body.
And let's talk about insurance.
It's cheaper to smoke crack.
Are you a smoker? Or are you a non-smoker?
Right.
There's a reason for that, because you have a shortened lifespan, and sometimes you have the smoker, you have the diabetes, your hypertension. What's going to happen? You're not getting insurance.
Yep. And Jimmy just said crack, right? So, I think we said this, but we didn't really say it. I kind of said it originally. Political policies or legislative policies have really been one of the major killers of Black wealth as well. So when we look at crack addiction, I grew up in a crack era. I believe everybody else here grew up in a crack era. I think at this point, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt the government had a role in that. They still deny it. But
they don't even deny it. They papers out there.
No, but some of them still deny it. It's not like widely said, but we know. But that was a major killer. And then to add on what the Republicans did with the war on Black folks, they kind of gave us a double bubble and just really attacked us from both sides, from addiction and law enforcement. And it's really bad. It's really bad.
And everything. Everybody's getting treated when now we have compassionate care for those who have addiction to heroin, but we didn't have that same compassion for those who are addicted to crack. And that really shows you the disparity of kind of the treatment and the political policies. It's like, we want to give you safe injection sites. All right, but what were you doing to help people that were crack addicted, like that were shooting heroin? What were you doing then? Now all of a sudden, like we're or whatever. It's like now all of a sudden you're looking at addiction as the health crisis that it is. But like, for real, like, is this what we're doing?
Yeah, we got 4 or 5 generations of people who were addicted to crack and to other drugs, and y'all threw them in jail, and y'all made them part of the jail population. And then y'all built little cities around those jails and then used them for politics, right? So, like, let's not even talk about how they use Black bodies for political power. That they put them in jails and then use their numbers for political power. So we not even going to go to that situation of how it destroys wealth.
Right.
Because if we go there, I can go there for an hour.
Well, let's go there because that's always been the move. That's been the move since the 3/5 compromise in the Constitution. We were used. The only reason why they did this is there's a compromise between the South and the North, saying, "Hey, the South is like, well, we need more representation," and the North is like, "No, you don't. You don't have that many people down there that vote." And they're like, no, but we have slaves, y'all. We have, and I'll say it this way: we have enslaved people because they like we have slaves. That was chattel slavery, but at the end of the day, we were
call them what they was. They was hostages,
right?
Yep.
They were hostages,
Prisoners of war.
So so we're like, okay, so can we count 3/5 of them though and get our representation? Can we do that? And North was like, all right, that they worked that out, whatever. But again, we've always been bartered and used as political pawns. Always. Like that's just been the nature of the beast since we got here. And now all of a sudden everybody has an attitude because Black people are trying to do something different. Oh, well, who do you think you are? Well, I don't know. I don't know. My ancestors just created this. So I'm trying to get up because y'all already been up based on what my ancestors did.
Yeah.
right?
I'm so excited.
Bars, man. Y'all cooking tonight, man.
That's
Y'all
what
got
I
them
said.
loose lips tonight.
This conversation is fire. It's so therapeutic. Like I'm just loving this conversation from some of the revealings to the acknowledgments to the just growth and some of the plans laid out on what you can do. Like I love us. I love Black folks so much. Like
All right. Well, before we move on, let's check in with our folks. Again, we apologize for going off the rails, but at the same time, we don't apologize because it was a great conversation, and that happens sometimes, right? But I just want to make sure that y'all know we are considerate of your time, and while you're here, and that's what we advertise. But again, great conversation, and I'm seeing some people that were actually thankful for the conversation. They learned a couple of things. So Don's here. He said this conversation is why I support y'all. Thank you. There's a lot of lanes out here passing bad knowledge.
Oh, big fact.
Say it again.
Gigantic
we
fact.
know, Don. We know.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of people were talking about Black wealth, and some people try to interlace some of the social issues, but they do it in such a black and white fashion, meaning that they never really get to the layers and the nuance of a thing. And I feel that if we never get to the layers of the nuance of the thing, we'll never be able to really solve the problem. We're just kind of doing patchwork. I say we're putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm, and we know that never helps.
Yeah. You trying to reform it and fix it, and reform it instead of fix it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Like we never get nowhere because we always trying to, progress. Oh my God, the two words that irk the fuck out of me, and I can't say it no other way, are reform and progress. Fix some shit. Like stop reforming and trying to progress on some. Man, fix the shit.
Listen, man, one of my favorite terms is root cause analysis. Right? Like, let's actually get to the root of the situation and go there instead of trying to put Band-Aids on everything.
Right.
But, so Adrian says, I say a necessary debt is a killer of Black wealth.
Yep.
No doubt.
Listen, as we go through these also, I mean, because the panel said a lot, y'all. What were some of y'all favorites comments from the panel tonight? Put them in the chat and let us know what you think.
She ain't even talk about ATM fees. Just
right.
I don't pay ATM fees.
I was about to say, why do
You
you
need to get yourself a bank that don't charge you ATM fees and that they will reimburse you for using another bank.
How many of us are unbanked?
Right.
That's another issue. That's a huge issue.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Kelly's cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, definitely. Dwight says he agrees with Corey. Religion is the number one wealth killer. So I guess at some point we probably should do topics, a whole show on some of these things and go really, really deep. Don Johnson says there are hundreds, but I'm going to pick exposure. Ooh, it's hard to achieve wealth if you're not exposed to it. Yeah, that's fact.
That's a great one.
Correct.
Yeah. Kahan says consumer mindset, survival versus longevity. That's kind of
nice.
on what Corey said. Mindset and cultural dynamics. What do you mean by cultural dynamics, Marvin?
Yeah, put that in the chat because I want to explore that.
Okay, Kelly said I watched my neighbor sit outside all day smoking cigarettes and then asked me to drop her off at the casino because she needs the money. That's the lottery ticket mentality.
Living a life of leisure.
That's so real though, right? I mean, all of us have probably experienced that.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Jeez.
Hey, Liz.
Elizabeth says, preach. Our agent says, Ivy investor. I'm definitely checking her out inside of giving Amazon my money.
Oh,
Okay.
the Corbin. Yeah.
Courtney brought up the book by Joy DeGruy. I would suggest us all check that out. Also,
You trying to get taxidermy up?
I'm here.
Yo, down off the hook, yo.
I ain't see that, y'all.
I don't know, like, what is going on?
All right, so Katisha says, I admire the way you six work together on this show. We as a whole traditionally don't trust each other and don't care enough for each other to work together. We don't support each other because we don't want another one of us achieving something first. We have what my mom refers to as stinking thinking. Yeah.
Thinking.
Come on, man.
And I'll share a little bit of that with you, Katisa. The Black Wealth Project is definitely being built to be an example for us to work together because we don't see it that often. Self-love and love for each other. Absolutely.
Correct.
I'm guessing that's a joke. That's an
No
insider.
doubt.
No, he was talking about how Jim was.
I responded to him. It was the
Okay.
feds.
Okay, I believe that one alone. I think the educational system is a wealth killer.
Yeah.
Specifically for males. I agree. I talk about that all the time. They're stuck in systems run by people that have taught them to fear, so they just get pushed through the system.
Shout
But
out
I'll
to
say this
Corey.
too, right? And I think Corey and Jimmy could probably speak to this better because they are actual educators. But I'll say this: the public education system hasn't really changed in the last 100 plus years. Here,
150 years.
150 years. Thank you. And for me, right, I just started noticing this, that boys do things differently than girls. And I just noticed that from having a daughter and having sons, typically, right? This is a general statement. Girls tend to can be able to sit still and do this whole lecture style of teaching. Boys tend to need activity outlets or athletic outlets. And I think that we absolutely do a discredit to our males, our black males, when they're in school most times, especially if they don't have a black male teacher, which we know that's few and far in between. So, Corey, do you have anything on that?
I mean, I teach. I've taught at many different levels, and I teach special ed specifically because I wanted to be the buffer between the black people in our system and the school system. So I chose like my degrees are in the advancement in special ed and special needs services, right? And so what I do when I'm in those situations is that because I have those experiences, I can relate those experiences to people who don't have those experiences for the kids. Like I can be their physical mouthpiece for some of the things that they're going through. And a lot of the times I'm easy to trust because everything they say to me, I understand because I have little cousins and brothers and sisters and family. And I grew up in the hood and I grew up in the hood. Like I grew up in damn near Beirut. Right. So they can't tell me nothing that's going to shock me. Right. And so when they tell me things, even though I'm a mandated reporter, and I tell them like, look, if you tell me this, I have to tell somebody. They'll still tell me because they is a burden to carry it around. They've been carrying it so long that they're happy to give it to me and say, all right, you take it to wherever it needs to go. Because sometimes they don't even know where to take it. And so in the educational system, to be able to I don't need to work in the educational system. They don't pay me enough, but I want to work in the educational system. I put myself in those places. I put myself in those positions because I want to be that outlet. You know what I mean? Like to be honest, when I was working for myself, I made triple what I make in the school system. But is to me, you can't get the you for me. You can't get that kind of satisfaction working in the places I was working. So I was like, look, man, let me go back and put these kids back in the positions they need to be. Because I used to work in a place where they was coming from either adjudication or they were coming from a mental health facility, and they were trying to get back into the public school system or the private school system, and basically it was like a halfway house school. And so I used to, it's crazy. And so I was dealing with a lot of issues and a lot of emotional issues and a lot of trauma, because they would go to these places and get more traumatized than they were before they went in, because the adults didn't care, because it was all about money. And that's the thing about education that I hate. That's the thing that made me get out of education and get into my own business, because it became so all about money.
Right.
And it was driving me crazy. I stay arguing with adults about childcare. I'm like, yo, if we put the kids first, there's no reason we should do this if we're putting kids first. And I got tired of having that same argument.
Gotcha.
But Kumar, before you continue on real fast, I do want to go to your point where it's hard for kids to sit still. It's really hard to sit still when your breakfast is a Pepsi and a honey bun. I'm gonna put that out there.
How about that?
Bars. And I'll also jump on that, right? It's also hard to sit still when you don't get a stable meal, or you have food insecurity at your home as well. So all of that. What you just brought up,
not having culturally relevant educational, culturally relevant. It's hard to sit still when you're not engaged.
Hold up.
Like if it's not
a whole
culturally
education
relevant,
show. We could do a whole show on education, yo.
Yeah.
Education.
I'm in the
Education
trenches every day. I could tell you where all the bodies are buried. I'm in the trenches every single day.
All right. So Marvin says you all are hitting all the bars on this. Thank you, Marvin.
Thanks, Marvin.
Lynette says lack of trust is a big black killer. There are communities who pool money together consistently to support down payments in businesses in black neighborhoods. We don't trust each other to do that. Yeah, but I would say those communities typically are closer to the root or the source of black culture than anything else a lot of times. Don says this conversation is wild. Okay, I got that before. But thank you again, Don. Appreciate you. Lynette says not investing. Kirsten from Rich and Regular said that money placed in investment works harder than she could ever, and that really hit me. Yeah. I mean, if you read the book Richest Man in Babylon, it literally tells you to make slaves out of your money.
Yep.
Now, if we don't like the term slaves, all right, we just make workers out of our money. Correct. So basically you got to make your money work for you, and there's a lot of ways you can do that.
So many layers to this, like
self-love. Kim Yvonne Babb. Hey Kim, congratulations on your retirement.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Oh, dope. Congrats.
So Kim is a big real estate investor, worked at the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority for years. We've been friends for a decade, Kim. You're not going to beat me with 2 decades this time. But she says lack of financial literacy, lack of self-love and self-esteem. Yeah. Whit says black love is big. If we had love for each other, we would be way ahead. Yeah, I agree. I always say it's really not about the money for us, because the key to getting money is being creative. The key to getting money is unity. That's why many other cultures are able to do that. So Don Johnson says Corey's point about the religious organization. Church is one of the all-time we can come together. Imagine if churches toward financial literacy, life insurance, and ownership. Some of them do.
Yeah. I mean, they're starting to get on the boat. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, over the years, churches had a negative ROI for the black community. Our communities are built around something that has a negative return on investment.
So Corey, I could debate that with you, but we're gonna say that for another show. And for the record, I'm not super big on church either. However, church is another nuanced thing, y'all. It's all
no. I'm not talking about the spiritual aspects and all that. I'm just talking about strictly money. There's no you can debate about it all you want to, but church has a negative ROI in the black community. More money comes in than comes back out.
Okay, we can debate that. We got smoke. David Ruffin and Corey, we all got smoke.
Okay.
Kelly says you preaching, Malik. Bars from Malik.
Appreciate that.
Dwight says generational issues are huge. Some parents pass down their self-worth to their children. Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
But that goes both ways though. You could pass down good or bad, like Courtney's parents, like my parents.
Correct. There's a lot of people that was raised on survival instead of love.
Facts.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
T-shirt, T-shirt alert.
Right.
Somebody write that down. Somebody put that in the chat. All right. So what says we need to start teaching the babies who are coming out of the womb in order to change the mentality. We need a generational shift. I would agree with that. Parents, man. Yeah. That was very personal, bro. Thanks for sharing that, Malik. Cutco still alive. We brought my son. Right.
Good shit. Good shit, Dwight.
Yo,
I ain't mad.
their products are A1 though.
Yeah.
Their products are A1, yo.
Slim Flum, what's up?
Hope the bro doesn't mind if I brought that. That is really your mindset of many. Which one, Dwight? We done said a couple.
I think he was talking about when I was saying that survival instead of trying to thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Courtney's getting some love. Bingo from Kelly. Triggered now listening, but y'all are speaking the truth. That's why we here, man. Trying to keep it funky all the way. The level of transparency, vulnerability, and rodents from you all is so dope. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Elizabeth says to do root cause analysis, you had to be able to focus on actual causes and management of just. I'm saying not management of justice systems. Right? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
Nobody wants to do that. Do that. Hey, yes, advocacy is very important to me.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Advocacy, and I was going to say, oh, she's talking about you, but yeah, advocacy and stewardship, two of my favorite words. Margot says this, please do. Margot, I'm missing the context for that one. I know it's something we said.
I think it was about the education show.
Talking about a show on education and black wealth.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Wayne Terry Jr. Hey Wayne, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. One thing that hurts black wealth is not knowing that what business is. A business shouldn't involve the owner going off on social media. I see that too much. I get what you're saying, Don, but Wayne, I get what you're saying, but I'll say this. We are in a different era now, right? So when you look at a person like a Super Cent, where her personality is blended in with her business, and she's talking about some of the things, they become learning lessons to a certain degree. And to be honest, it helps fuel sales. Controversy sells. Why do you think reality shows do so well? Why do you think the Cheeto head in the White House does so well? Because he goes off on camera. Again, I'm not saying I am for it. I'm just saying I can see the value in it.
Right.
No, I get his point. Yeah, but I would just like to say that, Gary Vee and Grant Cardone, they're allowed to do whatever they want to do, and they don't get that same level of criticism that some of our folks get.
All.
I'm just,
At all.
Yo, that's a bar, Jimmy.
At all.
We still enjoy respectability politics. We still get to a point where we expect everybody to fit to a certain mold.
Whole show.
Like, and it's frustrating to me. Like, and I think Kamari comes at me a lot about this, is that the Courtney that you see on social media is not the Courtney in real life.
You sometimes you be getting my representative because I'm gonna tell you, I'm too raw for the streets. Like, like y'all getting like.
But Courtney, I don't think you suffer from the syndrome of respectability politics. And for y'all who aren't sure what respectability politics is, it's like if you say the right words, if you wear the right suit, if you walk the right line, that you'll never get in trouble, or you'll never be suffer of racism. That's what respectability politics is. But
I've learned that's a learned kind of reaction, honestly, because I was at one point in my career more of a slave to respectability politics. Like, oh, I'm an attorney. They expect me to come into court and do certain things a certain way. I was always I worked in West Virginia. So there were certain things I just didn't do because it wasn't representative of who I thought I should be in the workplace. And it's like, you know what? you're going to get Courtney. Now you're not going to get Courtney at home that wears fuzzy slippers and stuff, but you're still going to get Courtney. And the honest goodness is that we end up walking these lines of, well, if I do it this way, and they still don't like you. They still don't really talk with you. So again, like, why be so?
I'll tell you one thing, y'all.
Authentic. Why?
I will say this: Courtney is starting to let the gloves go on IG. Like, I think people are starting to really get to her, piss her off, because her responses are getting a little bit more spicy to the folks. I'm like, they're getting a little bit more spicy as time goes on, so they must be pissing her off.
I noticed that too. I thought it was Mercury retrograde, but I was like, all right, Courtney.
Nah, man, it's just.
I'm here for it.
She been hanging around me too much, because my social media response game is savage. I let the hands go.
You the person. Yeah, you the person we just call in for the go get
Right.
them. Listen,
Whoa. We wasn't supposed to let that secret out, y'all. We don't need Corey to get targeted.
Hey, listen. I let the hands
hire hitman.
All right. So hold on, y'all. Marvin chimed in with the cultural dynamic. So he says, how our Black culture views self-worth and the approach to knowing what real wealth looks like. So many layers and viewpoints to this. Our culture tends to seek approval before action based on self-awareness. And just knowing that we have what we need, our Black culture has been conditioned to believe that we must work in order to make it, and our interpretation of work is a 9-to-5. That itself hinders wealth. Someone mentioned religion, that plays a part as well.
That's matter of fact, I had that same conversation with my wife, like literally just last night, right? So we I'm talking to y'all real quick. It's a real quick tangent. So because of COVID, my wife's schedule changing, it's going to force me to really pretty much be a stay-at-home dad. And like, you know what? I would rather move out of this country than be a stay-at-home dad until school start. And so I was talking about going to like just taking like the next year off and go to Antigua, because Antigua is COVID free. I'm like, yo, we'll just go there for a year. Like, our finances will suffer, but we got money. We'll be okay for the year. And my wife was just like, yo, but I gotta work. Like, you don't have to work. And then she thought about it. It's like, maybe, she said to me, she's like, is my identity tied to working? And that was just last night. And I'm like, well, listen, me and the kids gonna be Antigua for the year. You can call that.
Let's see how that works. Let's see how that works. All right. So Adrian
like Kamari says, that's nuance too, though. That's nuance too.
Yeah,
it is.
It is. So Adrian said education is used. There's a school here in Chicago that's for Black boys, generally from the poorest neighborhoods. They stay on campus, mostly, if not all, Black male teachers. Challenging curriculum. The graduation rate and college acceptance is 100%. There needs to be an overhaul on the overall entire system. I agree.
Chicago, they got all the goods. They got the other joint. The book Marcus Klein got school out there too.
Man. I was about to say to him, man, Marcus Klein is a mess to teach.
He's a young legend.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Second, because I feel like our older educational system produced more Black thinkers and more Black doers. So when you look at the turn of the century, you even look at the early 20th century, you see that we had engineers, we had doctors, we had dentists, we had all these people coming through a different educational system. They were all like educated in a one-room schoolhouse, but they're doctors, lawyers, educators, and they're like some of the best minds of.
You know why? Go ahead. Come on, keep coming. You know why? Why? Because we did it because we educated ourselves. That's why. Because we got the goods. They got it all from us, and then they gave it back to us. Like they bought it off us, and then they sold it back to us as crack. They bought it as coke, and they sold it back to us as crack. Like that, we gave it to them.
And for those of y'all who don't understand that crack coke reference, you always got to add a cut to the crack, so it's not as pure. So just to be clear.
Just my fault. I forget everybody ain't from where I'm from. My fault.
Okay, well, I'm glad we cleared that up, though. I mean, you had to clear that up because I don't know.
But say, yeah.
I don't know.
That's that Pusha reference.
All right. So, but seriously, but Corey, you make a very valid point. I think that's it, is that we have to, and the thing is, we have to stop treating education like a babysitting service.
Correct.
Like when you go to school, like I mean, honestly, goodness, you read what these children are reading. Because I was reading something, I said that's not right. I looked at that, and my niece looked at me. She was like, "Oh, Courtney's about to." She was like, "Auntie's about to go off." I mean, I'll pop on a Zoom. This is not correct. Let me read you all the things how this is not correct. I'm going to walk it through, and I want you to send something. I'm going to send something to the superintendent that we're going to change this language because it's not. But the thing is that we're not engaged in the schooling process. I had education from like 8 to 3, and my parents educated me when I got home. They were like, "Oh, about that book you were going to read. Here you go." I want to, and not necessarily. I wasn't getting book reports because we had Book It, y'all. Book It back in the day was everything, and Book It, you know, is that you read books and you got pizza, and so and that was when Pizza Hut pizza was good. Pizza was everything. You got a personal pan and everything. But those books that I was reading, my parents picked them out for me, and before I was able to pick them out for myself. And every time I turned around, it was about a black person this, black person that, and that's all I learned all the time. So Book It, was my way to educational freedom. And I was getting pizza along the way. You can't lose with that, y'all.
Shout out to Ivy Lee.
Yes. All right. So Whit says,
yes, Tracy, yes.
Yet again.
Whit says, my first time really listening in. You guys are amazing. So thank you, Whit. I appreciate you.
Like and share. Like and share.
Yeah. Like and share. Absolutely. Hey, Whit, how did you find us, Whit? How did you find us? And remember that every Sunday we are here at 7 p.m.
Sunday.
Ish.
All right. So Elizabeth says teaching application after education is imperative.
Facts.
Come on, Capricorn.
Come on. That's my man Ish from last week.
Okay.
That's Pure Impact.
Oh, that's Pure Impact. Okay.
Oh, how is that?
Yo, you getting that work in, bro? Kelly says, I appreciate this conversation. You all are dropping gems as always. 100. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, this is funny. Don Johnson says this show this show only can spin off at least 10 different shows.
Yeah, we got at least 10 episodes on this one show.
Facts.
Hey, Don, what episodes would you like to see us to spin off?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes, Don, let us know.
Lynette gave us one.
Can you please do it with politics or code switching? Yeah.
Code switching is a whole show.
Yes. I will say this though. I do think code switching and respectability politics, they're related, but they're different at the same time.
They are.
I agree.
They are. They're definitely
different. Save it for that show.
All right, Marvin says the seed school out of DC is just like that. It works and it sets the kids up for success despite the social economic background, which is generally poverty.
You need that.
Don says we taught them how to make potato salad and they put raisins.
Goddamn breaks Don in his bag tonight, yo.
That's terrible.
I be having bars.
I can't even get right after that. I'm like,
okay, Mark don't know about Book It.
Yeah, I didn't forgot about Book It. I don't think I remember Book It.
Book It was like the
high might have been
a cool year.
It might have not been your time, Kamari.
Y'all hear that stab, right? Y'all hear that sub? She called me.
Oh, shade.
She called me over there.
That was a whole shade tree. That wasn't just shady. That was a tree full of shade.
Listen, like Tracy and I are around the same age, so I don't know when they rolled out the Book It program.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to say because I went to the Book It on Stanton Avenue. The pizza.
Book It. Same here. Book It changed my life. Book It changed my life so much that it's like I got a half a chapter about it in one of my books. But
really?
See, I feel left out.
Book It was dope.
All right, so Karan says one of my older brothers made me write book reports on black figures sometimes as punishment, and sometimes that's because. Shout out to your brother, he's dope.
Yeah, your brother knew what was up.
Yo,
Book It was that work.
All right,
my father used to make us, when we got old enough, recite poems for our Christmas money.
Smart man. Yo, your pop is a G.
Your pops don't work in the rain. He do recitals. What the hell, man? Where your pop at? Like I need to raise my kids.
He a legend, yo.
Come through.
He's definitely a legend.
Hey, your pop to come on through. Like, damn, I'll pay you.
You need to come through.
Here,
All right,
right.
Khan says book it was that work through programs like Prom Upward Bound still exists where high school students get college exposure starting in 9th grade. I'm not sure.
I don't know if they still
Prime
work.
and
I
Upward
definitely
Bound
was in
still
Prime.
exist.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I wish
Prime.
NAFTA. I wish NAFTA was still around. Anybody remember NAFTA?
No, I've never. Mari, you're older.
I was in Prime and Upward Bound though. Those were.
Y'all remember NAFTA?
I remember NAFTA, but
Yeah.
NAFTA is not around.
I don't.
Am I that much older than y'all? Jeez.
Yes.
Damn. Oh, listen, Dwight, if you want to see that smoke on religion, I got the smoke, baby boy. Me and Kamari can go back at it. I got all the smoke.
Nah, yeah, we'll save it for the show. All right. Okay, so Don says the shows will be educational system and religious organization. Yeah.
Woo, let's go.
Adrian says I don't code switch anymore. Born and raised in Chicago, but they will get all this Tennessee tongue professionally. You know, Adrian. Speaking of Chicago, right?
Hold up. I like professionally.
Yeah, I love that. But it's funny, right? Because I watched The Shy, which is Lena Waithe's show, and one of the things she said when she did Queen and Sugar, or Queen and I think I'm saying it wrong.
No.
Queen is Slim.
They said she said that she was giving them all the slang. She said they need to learn Black vernacular. So she said she don't code switch no more. So maybe it's something in the ward over in The Shy. Y'all on to something.
I think so.
Yes, 84.
Okay, that's been out since 1984. Well, maybe I remember. I was still in elementary school in 84.
Were you?
Really, Courtney? Really? You coming with all the smoke? All right.
Bang bang. Shoot 'em up.
All
Bang
right.
bang. Let's go.
Okay. All right.
They put the religious word.
But here's the thing though. I will say this. Shout out to my fiance. My fiance always has the smoke. He has taught the kids Invictus. So they in the back of the car spitting Invictus. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Come on, come through.
They really do. They're like, black is a pit for. I was like,
Yes, come on, teach the baby.
Come on
the
through.
man who thinks he can is in that. I was like,
Come
I said that
on.
in law school all the time. Law
Look,
school.
we learned man in arena. We learned if. We learned all those things. Let's
Yes.
do them.
Sheesh.
For those who know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so I don't code switch. All right, Ishmael. Ishmael said ROI from religious organization in the inner city, our communities is a necessary conversation. Oh, definitely. All right, so
People gotta let their hands go in the church, yo. It's gonna be nasty.
yeah. I think we might have to wear protective gear for that one. You might get them vest out, y'all.
Yeah,
Folks getting their feelings about the church.
yeah. Y'all gonna need to have a whole format laid out already before the show because the conversation is going to get crazy quickly.
Well, it's not. We always have a format. The question is going to be: are we going to be able to stick to it? Because you know the audience participation is going to be crazy on that one.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody talk crazy about Black Jesus. They're going to have some issues. All right, folks. So listen, that was our whole rap about black about the biggest problems with black wealth, or the biggest dangers to black wealth, or the biggest killers to black wealth. Excuse me. But now we're going to talk about our Bob icon of the week, or our Black icon of the week. And this week, Corey has the Black icon of the week. So who you got for us, Corey?
My Black icon of the week is somebody who, I admire, because she basically shaped my young childhood, because I listen to the radio every day, and that's Kathy Hughes. Right? And so yeah, right. All the Black personalities that we have on, the D.L. Hewleys and the old, the older Black personalities. What's the Tom Joyner and all that? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's because of Kathy Hughes. And so she shaped my childhood in a way that I can't even describe, because before I was allowed to look at the TV, I listened to the radio, right? And then she gave us Black radio stations so that we could become culturally, culturally the same. You know what I mean? Like, so, it was Black. She helped put Black radio stations in every market in the country, and so she put Black people in positions to succeed, and she's created radio personalities that have shaped the lives of so many people. And she's running a publicly traded company. So if y'all want to support her, y'all can go ahead and run them dollars over to Radio One. You know what I mean? So they publicly traded. And so
Correct.
for that, I say thank you, Kathy Hughes. And thank you so much for helping to shape the lives of so many people.
Absolutely.
Legend.
Absolutely.
That picture was fire too, Kamari. That picture with her and Clarence Avant. Another
Correct.
legend.
Yeah, that's
A lot of
another
people don't know
one.
who Clarence Avant is.
Mhm.
Clarence
Yeah.
Avant is
I
a
got-
G.
Black
I gotta-
Godfather.
I gotta watch it again. I gotta watch the documentary again.
The Black
You know what?
Godfather, man.
You know what though? Talking about Clarence Avant though, right? I think a lot of times our community gives smokes to black businesses, to wealthy black people. A lot of times we call them the bourgeoisie, or we kind of talk down to them. But when you really do the math and you really do the history, people like Clarence Avant and many others have always been fighting for black people, just behind the scenes.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't know it, so we crucify them in the public, and it's really not fair, y'all. Just to be honest,
It's
really
not fair. Sometimes it's not fair.
I think most
Yeah.
times it's
A lot because the thing is we're not omniscient. As much as we believe,
That's
like,
true.
you may think that you're godlike, we're just not omniscient. We don't know everything. We
Yeah, we're not seeing what's
Yeah,
happening behind the
If they
scenes.
don't post
All we
it,
can see is the
it's-
result at the end.
right, and you don't even know who the puppeteer is. The puppeteer may be somebody completely different, and that may not be your concern because not everything is for public consumption. So when we're specifically talking about consumerism, not everybody needs to know what's in your bank account. Not everybody needs to know your credit score. Not everybody needs to know what you drive. And so I think that's the thing. And with social media, we expect everybody to put everything up on blast. Everything I do, you gotta see. Here's me getting coffee. Here's me at the store. Here's me getting this new Benz. Like, come on now. Like,
But honestly, Courtney, this has been going on for a long time. I mean, they consider W.E. Du Bois bourgeoisie, and they consider W.E. Du Bois to look down on certain black folks. And so,
Courtney-
that argument in our community has been raging for over a decade, and I think it's really sad. And I'll say this: I think we need to have a little bit more grace with some folks, a little bit more. I guess what's the word I'm looking for?
You said grace,
It's
because that's the
grace.
only word you can get. Like that's the only thing. The word is grace, because sometimes we need to give them some more rope. You know what I mean? Because you don't understand. You can't see all the moves. They're making moves based on what they see in the future, and y'all just looking at what's happening right now.
Right,
So
and we're also working off of limited information.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was my
Spook who sat by the door.
Yeah, that was my whole issue with the Chad Boswick situation.
Chad
Like,
Boseman.
I'm sorry, Chad Boseman. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. But that was my whole issue. Like, for clickbait, y'all want to say that, oh my God, this black man who had $1 million didn't have no will. Like, y'all didn't even know nothing about his trust. Nobody researched to find out what was in the trust, how they were conveyed. Why did he get married to his wife on his daggone deathbed? Like, there were so many pieces to that I just felt like the entire black community literally just went into this spiral of, oh, that's why you gotta have a will, and that's why black folks don't never have no money. It's like, that's not what this situation was.
Right.
Yeah.
Dig deeper, y'all. Like,
but the thing is, now here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's only one article that I read out of maybe about 10 on this subject that actually talked about the trust.
correct.
So here's the thing, but that's why I was so irritated, because I felt like, here you guys go again, basically talking about the ignorant ass black folk, and I meant it, and I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of that whole conversation. It's like, you're always trying to paint us in this negative light. Like, see, you look at is this your king?
Yep.
That's really the smoke and energy that these articles had.
Yep. Correct.
And we know where the "is this your king" came from, but
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just
just
saying,
want
but
to say
that's
Courtney,
really how they trying to do it, though.
Courtney cooked half my timeline. I just want to say that, like, she just shaded half my timeline.
But as she should, though, she should be a whole damn shade tree, because they coming off limited knowledge and they don't know where the hell they coming from, what they talking about. They don't have the information.
And trust
When
are
she said they
private,
got to show you, they got to show you everything.
trust are private. And I want to keep this all the way. I don't know what's in everybody's trust, because you know what? That keeps you out of probate. Probate is public, trust are private. So you're not going to know everything that's in a trust. Period, point blank. I don't care. And I'm tired of the ignorance, because y'all just don't know. You're talking above your pay grade.
Correct. Correct.
facts.
Say word.
Shout out to
Teacher
Peter
alert.
School. I was in a meeting the other day and said, "Fuck out of here, young boy." Hey, Don, Are you from Philly, Don? I know you come from Philly people, but that's such a Philly statement. I mean,
Don watches a lot. He watches a lot about the hood, man.
Yo.
God, not in a meeting, God.
Yo.
I'm here for it. I mean, I highly disagree with that statement. I highly disagree with that statement.
Code switching.
Yeah, protective
gear. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's gonna get bloody.
All right, so listen, this is going to be the last comment of the night, y'all. We didn't had y'all on for over an hour and 45 minutes almost. So Marvin says, do you all feel that as a collective, we are contributing to the awareness and knowledge of wealth, more specifically Black wealth, that some of our people generally disrespect wealth? The come up is good, and because we are impoverished, we're going to enjoy this. And I think forward to turning that come up into generational wealth.
A scarcity mindset. That's scarcity. Yeah. Like that's all it is. That you have to switch from having a scarcity mindset of, hey, I don't have this much time, or I don't know when I'm going to get this next money, so I'm going to enjoy it as it is. But when you switch over to an abundance mindset, thinking to yourself like, okay, like, you know, I have more time, I have more money is going to come, and I don't have to consistently always do something with it. And I think that's the other thing, is that when you're in poverty, you think you have to do something with something all the time. Like, oh, I just got this money in my hand, I have to spend it. Or, oh, I just got this money in my, like, no, you don't have to do it. It can just sit, it can be invested. You know, we have to think beyond today and tomorrow. Like there's years, and even if we're not here to enjoy our wealth for ourselves, you have people behind you. And I'm really tired of people saying, well, what I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to take my wealth, take with me, so I'm going to spend it now. Like, how financially immature are you?
Hey, I wrote a whole book about it. Me and Jim wrote a whole book about it.
What's the name of the book? What's the name of the book? Get the book ready, Jim.
On Your Time and Space.
Okay.
Get the book at Jim. Come on, y'all do this every week. Y'all know the routine.
Where's my book that's signed? We went through this before.
Smoke.
Hi, guys.
I don't know if y'all know that. Hold on. I don't know if the audience has noticed this, who the actual bullies are here on the show. But I'm just saying, you can kind of tell. But
oh my God.
What's up, David Ruff?
No, hey, listen, just real. I just want to end, like, this is my very last comment on as far as the Black wealth component. And what I do with myself is I only splurge one time a year, and that's homecoming. Homecoming, all budgets out the window. Everything is fair game homecoming. Unfortunately, this year there is no homecoming, so I get to save my splurge. So next year I could double splurge on homecoming.
All right, so closing comments. Go ahead, Jimmy. What you got for the people?
I mean, since Malik won't come in here and shade us all, I just want to say, man, your Otis is kind of in terms of anyway.
And Marvin, you can find our book on Amazon or onyourtimeandspace.com.
There you go, onyourtimeandspace.com. That's all I got, Kamar. Onyourtimeandspace.com.
All right, Tracy. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, just talking about Otis. I've never been Otis in my life. I've always been a Beyonce, and I just want to make that very clear.
Okay.
I want to make sure y'all out here checking y'all mental health. Y'all doing your safe spaces, your safe circles, your villages. Please also wear your mask. COVID is a real thing. We are rising in numbers. Black folks, we don't have time to deal with some of our pre-existing conditions dealing with COVID. So make sure y'all out here being socially distant and taking care of yourself, and own your properties, buy real estate so you can be a part of the tax code and you can cover where you live.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Corey, what's your closing words?
Yo, man, just do the right things by the people that love you, right? So there's this throwaway culture that's going on, right? And people cut off culture and throwaway culture, right? And to be honest, I'm part of that culture, right? Because I man, listen, because my survival mode says I can do it on my own, right? But the thing about it is, when you collaborate, you get way further. You know what I mean? Like, so stop throwing away people that have shown you that they care about you. That's I'm gonna leave it at that.
Powerful.
Bars.
Got you. Courtney.
That hurt my feelings. Like, I'm trying to get my life together after what Corey just said. Because if you don't do something the way I like, Oh, Grace. Watch out. But I'm working on it, y'all. But I think the biggest thing is that, educate yourself, be an independent thinker. I think we really need to get away from the herd thought, because at the end of the day, we all have gifts and talents that we have to share, and we all have different experiences, and that's going to shape our experience. That's going to shape our lives. Also, really own some shit. Okay, own some shit. Really, I know.
Courtney.
Oh,
I know, right?
Everybody had a breakthrough.
Sucky.
So you have to, and protect it. Protect it in a way that you have conveyed it properly. You have a will. If you need a trust, you have a trust. If you and the thing is that incapacity is real. So you may need a power of attorney. You also need an advance directive. You say, "Mate, listen, don't use nothing. Don't put nothing down my throat. I don't want that." You have to put that down, and it has to be done in writing. It just does. So protect yourself, protect your family. As Corey said, basically protect the people that you care about and that care about you, because that's all we have, and all we have is our community. So
Absolutely. I want to piggyback on what Corey said in my closing comments. Listen, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So that means if we want to go far, that means we got to walk a little bit slower. We got to run a little bit slower. We got to take time and be patient and have grace with one another to explain things. And yeah, everybody learns differently. Everybody processes differently. That don't mean they dumb. That just means you got to figure out different ways to communicate it to them, right? But
and this timeline don't think that.
Have that grace, y'all. Have that patience. Because listen, I think everybody on the panel can agree we have a shortage of love. And one of the things that can really take us over the top is love, right? Love for us, love for one another, love for education, love for progress, right? So do those things. Think about y'all stuff. Be progressive in everything that you do. And when I say progressive, forward thinking, don't just think about yourself. Think about future generations. But listen, I appreciate you all. We're honored that you all here, the entire Black Wealth team. Come back, check us out next Sunday, 7 p.m. and do us a favor. Don't keep us a secret. Share us with everybody out there, because listen, we are looking to change a lot of the mindsets out there. And the way you begin to change mindsets is through conversation, through communication. So everybody, again, thank you all for a great night. I think this is probably my favorite show of all time so far. So again, I appreciate you all for being here, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.
hey guys.
Peace.